Welcome to episode 377 of the AM/PM podcast. This week, my guests are from the Ukraine and from the UK. That's right, Yaroslav and Aaron are my guests this week, and they run a company that specializes in buying and selling Amazon accounts. So maybe you started up an Amazon business and it just didn't go like you wanted, and you've got an account that's just kind of sitting there idle. They might buy it off your hands, or you got an old account that you're not using anymore. They might buy it off your hands, or maybe you're looking to enter into the Amazon space or start a new company, and you want an account that has a little bit of a history and a reputation. Maybe it has some seller feedbacks, has some different payout terms. They can help you connect with accounts that have that. It's an interesting model. It's a great discussion. I think you'll learn a lot and discover a whole new avenue of ways to make money on Amazon. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the AM/PM podcast. Welcome to the AM/PM podcast, where we explore opportunities in e-commerce.
We dream big and we discover what's working right now.
Plus, this is the podcast where money never sleeps, working around the clock in the AM and the PM.
Are you ready for today's episode?
I said, are you ready? Let's do this. Here's your host, Kevin King. Kevin King.
Yaroslav and Aaron, welcome to the AM/PM podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Awesome, man. So we're doing like a little European to the US podcast today. I'm in Austin, Texas. Aaron, I think you're over in the UK, and Yaroslav, you're in, I think you said Prague, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Awesome. But we met over in Seattle at Amazon's Accelerate event back, when was that? Back in September of last year or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's right. It was September last year. Amazing event. It was great to connect there with you.
How was that for you guys? I mean, what do you guys get out to a lot of different events? Or I hadn't met you guys before, and I'm at a lot of events. Was that one of the first ones you've been to, or do you just pick and choose? Or tell me about that.
I've attended a ton of events over the years. I actually saw you at the Danny McMillan event in London, Kevin, last year as well. I think it was May or June. We bumped into each other, and then that was briefly. But then, yeah, that was the next one after that was Amazon Accelerate in September. But yeah, we try and be selective with the ones we go to. Jay-Z, when was the last time you was at an Amazon event?
I think I was on most of the forums in Ukraine. So there were local Amazon seller forums in Kyiv, in Odessa. The first ever forum was actually in Minsk, which may sound a bit weird because and sellers from Ukraine, from Belarus, back in the days, they just collapsed and went to this kind of events. But I think that was the time when I was selling on Amazon, not doing our business that we have right now. So that's probably the first event we came together with Aaron.
Awesome. I actually spoke in Kiev back in I think it was 2018 at Igor. I know there's a lot of Igors in Ukraine, but Igor's event, it was like it was in the summer of 2018, I think it was, like June. It was did you happen to be at that event, Yaroslav?
No, I wasn't there, but I've heard about this event. Actually, this guy Igor, he was the one who taught a lot of people in Ukraine how
that's him.
Amazon, yeah, and was and I met him a couple of times personally. So yeah,
that was an awesome event. I mean, it was like the way he set up the room, the way the lighting was. I mean, he went over the top. You would have thought it was like an Amazon $5 million event or something, but Ukrainian style with dancing girls at the party and the whole 9 yards. It was truly Ukrainian style. It was a lot of fun. And then Danny's seller sessions, Aaron. That was pretty cool. I've been to a few of those as well. He always does those cool Christmas parties and stuff too. It's always great. So you guys have been. So your backgrounds, both of you were selling, or tell me the story. Why don't you go first, Aaron? What's your background in this whole e-commerce world, and I'll ask Yaroslav his.
Yeah, sure, awesome. Yeah, so I started out. I think it was ASM. It was ASM1 where I kicked off 10 years ago in March. So we're almost coming up to 11 years. And it feels like a lifetime ago, which it actually was in internet years. But kicked it off going to that event. I was actually in the far northwest of Australia at the time, working in the mines to get my visa. So it was pretty tough working in one of the hottest places of the world. And I was like, look, I don't want to do this forever. And then I was learning how to make money online, affiliate marketing. Then I got an email from Mark Ling promoting the Amazon ASM 1 event. Looked at it, went all in, flew over to the States, Austin, where you're at now, and basically met my business partner at the event and basically launched a business, and things, went well initially. Kicked off first 4 months. I was able to quit my job. And then we went and built out a team over there in the Philippines. And I spent a lot of time back and forth, 2014, 15 in the Philippines. Love that country, love the people. So yeah, that was the initial kickoff to the journey. Launched a bunch of different brands.
So you were right place, right time. Back then, it was like, that was about 2012, 2013 or so. It was just literally stick your name on something and it just sold like crazy. I mean, your phone's just dinging off the hook, right?
It was a different game for sure. Right. And I was green in business. It was like my first business. So obviously a hell of a lot of lessons to learn along the way, for sure. But an incredible, exciting moment, really. The first, I remember it was Garcinia, Cambodia, right? Everyone was selling that thing. Right? It was like I sold it, stuck a label on it, we sold one. It was just, it's a mind perspective shift, as you know. You sell your first thing online, it's like, oh my God, somebody's purchased this. So yeah, so that's how I got started. Built, several supplement companies and an electronic brand, and done some various other things as well. But and then fast forward to now, we essentially are buying and selling Amazon stores. So we can get into that in a minute, but I'll hand over to Jay-Z or Yaroslav.
Before we do that, before we go to Jay-Z or Yaroslav, as he's also known, he's a dual personality there. Aaron, so you did ASM 1 back then. I think the event was free or something, right? You could actually, that's just if you bought the course, and it was
that's right.
thousands of bucks, and then you could come in. They did these big events, and then so you did that with the supplements till like 20. You said 15, 16, and then did you pivot into some other partnerships or sell off one of those brands, or what did you do in the before you and Yaroslav hooked up?
For sure. So it was 2016 when we had a partnership that we was building a team over in the Philippines, and that was running multiple supplement brands. So we was doing what we was doing back in the day is creating one supplement brand, ranking them all up to the top, all the various products, different keywords. And then we just basically create a separate brand, same suppliers, launch that and try and dominate the front pages of Amazon, essentially. We was doing well, but unfortunately a partnership that we had, it didn't go as planned. And then the team that was running the brands that I had essentially kind of fell apart. Well, it was kind of taken away it wasn't, it didn't go the way we'd expected on both parts. So I was left to kind of catch the brands. Didn't end up going the way I'd hoped on all of them. Was
that because of Amazon or because of just partnership issues? Or was that because Amazon started cracking down and were you guys up to something that you shouldn't have been or something? Or was it...
No. It wasn't nothing we was up to. It was a partnership situation. So,
okay.
We built this this team of this amazing team that was running the brands. There was a disagreement between I and one of the partners, and then essentially I had to catch these falling plates, essentially these different brands and products. It was an amazing learning experience because I got to figure out how to build and grow a team. We built, I think, maybe 40 or 50 team members over there. I learned systems, process, operations, which was, critical because we rolled that into the brands that we had an electronic brand at the time, and used all them systems and processes, and that was really the transition point. Some of the brands, again, we done well out of. We never sold any. Again, I was green and I didn't really know what I didn't know at the time. But basically, from there, what happened was we had the electronic brand that we had. again, done that and wound that down ultimately because there was regulations coming in on Amazon. And, we kind of parted ways at that point. But yeah, I hope that makes sense in terms of that trajectory. And from there, what we, coming from that experience, we had entire playbooks on how to find, launch, find products, launch products, rank them, run teams, operations, get reviews, build security infrastructures on how to access stores safely, and a huge playbook. And really what I did from that point there, it was, I think it was around 2017, or that was mid 2017. I started having Amazon sellers reach out saying, "Hey, I know you've built a team in the Philippines. Can you help me?" So I actually started, I had a kind of a group coaching thing that I started, done that for about a year and a half, had about 30 clients, 7 and 8 figure sellers, showing them and just giving them all the SOPs and playbooks really that we'd used. That was that. And then we was, instead of doing the coaching, which I really didn't like, just to, that whole model of coaching and trying to get people to implement SOPs. It's not it's not the sexiest.
No, it's not.
It's not the sexiest stuff to talk about as well. So at that point, we was like, people don't want to really implement this. They're too busy. Why don't we just do it for them? So we had an agency actually where we was for about a year and a half, we was running everybody. There was full service inventory management across 7 and 8 figure brands. So obviously really intense. We was doing that for about a year and a half, and that was that kind of that agency model as well. But we kind of wrapped that up as well because very intense, very demanding. Managing inventory management for 4 or 5 different 7-figure brands is a lot. So that was the journey really so far. I hope that made sense.
No, that's perfect. And what about you, Yaroslav? How'd you get into this, and what's your story?
So I started selling on Amazon in the beginning of 2017, and before that I was I was selling chargers for mobile phones in Kiev. So I was just going to different bars and cafes with a big box that I ordered from China. So it was like an ultimate charger for different phones, like power banks, like power station, 12 different power banks. So it was like Horeca solution. So, but they weren't really high quality and the business didn't go well. So my close friend offered me to go to Slovakia and to sell soybeans to Slovakian farmers after because there was a business opportunity. And I went to him, and we were literally going from village to village in eastern Slovakia near Košice, and we were trying to have deals with the farmers over there.
So literally like door to door, knocking on their door, trying to sell them something in person.
And talking to Slovakian farmers. Because I lived in Czech Republic for 4 years. I studied here, played hockey, and then because I knew Czech, I could talk to Slovakian farmers, and they understood me. So it was really funny. But our company, I didn't know that the previous company that did that, basically that was my friend's father's company. They had bad reputation, and in the end the business went bankrupt. So we were doing that for 3-4 months, and we went back for a vacation to Kiev. It was December, and I was sitting and working. That's how I got into Amazon. I was sitting and working in one of the cafes in Kiev, and I was completely like just doing this soybean stuff, and that was so funny. So a couple of girls, they sat down on the nearest table, and one of them she started talking about Amazon. She told, I'm drop shipping on Amazon, and recently I had $50 per day in profit. And I was like sitting typing something, and I would turn my head over here, and I was, what's going on? Like, and I literally closed my laptop and started staring at the girls like this, and then it felt weird, and I told, can you please tell me about this? What are you doing? It's like, it's something completely different, and I want to know about that. And so I basically got her contact, and then I forced her to teach me. Then I went back to Slovakia, and after a few months, I registered my Amazon account and basically forced her to asked her, not forced, but I was asked her to teach me how to dropship on Amazon. And that was the beginning of the story.
So that's like 2017, 2018, and then how long did you do the drop shipping for?
17. So it was April 2017, and basically I just spent whole days trying to figure out how to do that, and I was completely broke at that time, so two business ventures didn't go well. I didn't have any money, and then I started doing drop shipping, and in the first months I just could afford just like a nice flat. So everything has changed in 1 month. It was like so crazy back in the days, and I was, whoa, what's going on in my life? And then I started hiring some people, implementing some procedures, and I was dropshipping until 2019. So it was 3 years. So basically, at the end of 2017, all my stores got shut down. I got a lot of funds. That's like a typical story of a dropshipper. I started my own software for dropshippers. I just invested a lot of money over there, and in the beginning of 2020, I was in a huge debt because of all the suspensions and the investment into the software. And I asked myself, I had a team already, I think 5 or 6 people who were doing all the orders, searching for the listings, and I kind of asked myself, how do I get the funds quicker? And that's where the idea with the stores it came to me, and I just started developing that business.
So how did you two meet?
Typical story. We met online, one of them ones, but it was basically, I think, Jay-Z, correct me if I'm wrong, but to tag on to what Jay-Z said, essentially after I wrapped up the agency that I was doing for, done for you inventory management, we was doing all the customer service, we was also doing bookkeeping. After I wrapped that up, had a little period of rest because that was very intense. And then started getting people asking me about, hey, do you have an Amazon store that you don't sell anymore? It's actually, a friend of mine, and I was like, yeah, sure. Ended up selling him a store.
Basically, like you're selling the account, basically, like a dead account?
Exactly, yeah. It wasn't in use. And essentially, as you know, there's thousands of businesses bought and sold on Amazon. And essentially, the same process as if an aggregator would purchase a business. It's done exactly that same way. And I had a friend say, hey, look, can we acquire your store with an asset purchase agreement? We've got, we want to transfer it so we can launch our new private label brand.
So this is, just to be clear, just so the audience understands, this is a store that you set up prior, maybe years before, that you basically quit selling on. So it still has a bunch of history, still has, maybe there might be a few random products still sitting in there or something, but it has a bunch of history. And someone comes in, they want to buy it because it has a history and already has like a bunch of seller feedbacks and things like that. That's what we're talking about, right?
That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, the stores were created in 2013. They had better payment terms. They had no reserve. They had loads of seller feedback, loads of sales history, and all the bells and whistles really. And essentially, we was approached, and that was how it first started. So I sold my old store to a friend, and then he launched his business. And I realized, hang on a minute, there might be something here. I had like 3 more Amazon stores that we'd used for various different companies. So at that point, it was...
How much were they paying for these? I mean, how much were they... Did it depend on the number of seller feedbacks, or was there a criteria? Was it... are we talking real money here? Like, I'll give you $500, or what are we talking about?
So the first time this happened, so this was 4 years ago now, about 4 years ago, I believe. So probably a little bit more than that. I think it was $5,000 or $4,000. And I was like, whoa, this was just sat on, So that was. It's
like getting paid. It's like free money for your trash.
Right. And that was like the first time, so it was like, wow, there might be something here. And, through that journey of, selling on Amazon myself, I had the opportunity to sell the other stores. And then that's kind of how I transitioned into doing what, we do now. And I was doing this separately to Yaroslav, and Yaroslav was also acquiring, dormant accounts from sellers who just threw in the towel. A lot of people have a bit of a rough time on Amazon, can't make it to work, or they get divorced, or God knows, there's 1,000 reasons people stop selling on Amazon. Competition, finances, time, kids, all that. So what we found is there was actually a hell of a lot of people that had these stores, and I started just reaching out to people that I knew, saying, "Hey, look, if you don't use this, I can acquire it from you using the same process, a bit how an aggregator would buy a business, following that same process, acquire the store, and then I'll turn around and I'll sell it on to a private label brand that wants to hit the ground running, or a wholesale seller, for example." So that's really how it started. And then I stumbled across Mr. Yaroslav, and I started to essentially buy these stores and sell them to Yaroslav. And that's how we first met. He was actually buying stores from me.
Cool. So you would buy them for whatever the price, $1,000, and you sell them for him. You mark them up and just sell them for him. And then Yaroslav, you would turn around and sell them to other people who maybe had trouble setting up a store because they couldn't back then. We didn't have all this ID verification and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe was it the other Ukrainians, or just whoever wanted to buy it, or did you have a special niche like Chinese sellers that wanted burner accounts, or what was the who was the buyer for them?
Basically, Kevin, back in the days, back in 2020, I started selling these stores, and it started really weirdly. So I knew there was a lot of people doing buying and selling stores in Ukraine, for example. I knew there is a market. I personally acquired a few stores for my dropshipping business before, and then and it was one price. And after 1 year, I reached out to the same guy, and he told me the price was 5 times more. And I was, what's going on? And literally, I just started creating my own website. I realized that people do not trust me, and I started creating the website. I created the separate Telegram channel for all people who wanted stores. And back in the days, back in 2020, I just tried to create I just tried to put all these guys in one Telegram channel, forward them there, and then just whoever reaches out, I sell it. So I didn't do too much qualification, so I haven't qualified these guys too much. So they wanted the store. I had it and I sold it. That's it. And I posted sold in that channel, and it created the demand for other people. They saw that these stores are selling, and they reached out to me more and more and more and more. And that was, and they just kept on telling to other people. And I ended up creating auctions for these stores back in 2020. And it was really funny. People were bidding for the stores, people from different countries. They were bidding. There was a basic description. People knew that I can deliver. I can just deliver the store. So I'm not a scammer. They can reach out to me. I'm real. and I talk to them. I explain
now it's like a regular business.
That
I mean, brokering debt accounts and bringing them back to life,
did a bit
basically,
of wholesale,
for
I
other
did a bit
people.
of listing creation. So I knew a lot of different things. And
what we do is really just finding.
It's now I'm looking back at the time, and I understand that
sat on the
that's
digital
just
shelf.
little.
They want closure on it. They don't sometimes know they can sell.
I've
They're on
created
Amazon seller account.
options.
And
I think a lot of people don't realize that they can sell that. I mean, you see it occasionally pop up. Someone posting one of my like Masterminds. Anybody got a store from 2018 or before that they're looking to sell, or there'll be some criteria like that. But you don't see a lot of it. There's I know like I think it was it Dan Ashburn or somebody. He had a company or was doing something at one point promoting that, or maybe it was an affiliate deal. But I'm sitting on 4 or 5 stores right now that I have from the past. One of them was from the pandemic. It's just sitting there, just idle.
Demand was high,
you got the $39 turned off, and it's just sitting there. So what if someone's out there? Like you said, a lot of people start this business. They take ASM, or now it's amazing.com, and it just doesn't work out for them. So there's a lot of dead stores. How does Amazon look at? And then, like you said, it's just like an aggregator takes over a store.
Sorry, man.
You guys probably have the system down now of how exactly what you got to write, and exactly how the process works.
85 or
but
something.
does Amazon okay?
What's going on?
Is there any things you got to be careful of when you buying one and you're basically flipping it to somebody else? And then, so you're sending in transfer this from this person to me, or y'all taking possession of it and then passing it on, or is it you just broker in the middle and just coordinate from the seller to the buyer?
Selling these stores as well.
Right.
Okay, let's give it a try.
So, just to tag on to
we had this great model for
essentially
1 or 2 months, and then we
that's kind of the reason. Part of the reason we went to speak with Amazon and meet them and talk to them really is to what we do and is no different to what an aggregator does in terms of acquiring an asset. You normally use an asset purchase agreement to acquire a business, running business. And what we do instead is we acquire a store which is not selling, and it's kind of dormant really, and then we're turning around and we're giving it to sellers that are going to be growing on the marketplace, providing more products for the increase in selection on the platform, which is what Amazon want, of course. Providing service to their customers, and ultimately bringing revenue to the platform that would have never been there. So that's
what would Amazon say? That's I'm just wondering why Amazon doesn't have a policy like, okay, if you quit selling in a year, we just close it down. You're like Gmail does that. If you don't use your email account, they turn it into a spam trap after 6 months. But because if I'm starting up a new company, that history is somebody else's company. But it's like you said, that's the same reason someone else buys another company, is they're getting that goodwill, they're buying that history, that's an asset. And so from that point of view, I think Amazon would have a hard time saying you can't sell these. These are assets. As long as everything, whatever rules they have checks out, if the new buyer and stuff, it should be gold. And I think a lot of people, like you said, don't realize they're sitting on these assets. And someone that started with $5,000 and tried to sell on Amazon, it just didn't work out for them. They might be able to recoup a good portion of that, or maybe even all of it, depending on how old their account is, right?
Yeah, exactly, Kevin. And really, we've got some crazy stories about some people that we've acquired these stores from, but we flew
what's one of those crazy stories? What's a really good that you can say that's a really cool, interesting, that people will be like, wow, that's
okay,
interesting.
I got one for you. So there's this lady called Tina. We bought a store from her maybe a year and a half ago, and she said we went through, bought a store, sent her the money, and then she followed up like 2 weeks later saying, might have been a month later, but it was, hey, just want to let you know that my mother was really sick in New York, and I didn't have the money to go and see her, but the money that you provided for me for my store enabled me to go and get tickets, fly to see her before she passed away, and I just want to say thank you. So that was probably one of the most profound ones, and without the funds that she'd got from the store, selling the store to us, she wouldn't have been able to see her mother before she passed. So that was one of the stories. We've got other stories about people using critical medical bills, using the funds for critical medical bills, kickstarting a new business. In fact, that's quite a common one. People use the funds to kind of go again, if you like.
So what is a store? What are the variables that determine what the price is? Is it the older it is, the more it's worth, or the more seller feedbacks, the more it's worth, or what? Can you give me an idea what those are? Someone listening, can I make it $500? Can I make? I know it depends. I know there's a number of variables, but at least give me some sort of ballpark range of something.
Sure, I'll give you a range. So we bought stores anywhere from, like, on the very low end, somebody just opened a brand new store, tried it, didn't work. We bought them for like $500. On the flip side, we've bought stores, I think the most we've probably spent is $14K on the high end. Like, that's that was obviously an extraordinary store. Most of them, most of the stores range between $500, $4K, $5K. The odd store we get is, more than that, $6, $7K, $8K. These are super high volume stores that have done millions of dollars in sales. They might have a better payment reserve, various different things like that. But anywhere in that range, really, depending on the store itself.
So how do you do your due diligence? So if I come to you and I've got my store, let's say it's, I'm public on this. I had a company called Germ Shark that we started during the pandemic. We sold millions of dollars worth of hand sanitizer. Amazon, because of Amazon's algorithm, we constantly got shut down. Even though we had a guy on speed dial, a business development guy, had his home cell phone number on speed dial, he'd get us back up. We'd be back up for an hour, then we're shut back down again because of this algorithm BS. And so we finally just said, to heck with it. We threw in the towel. If I came to you and I said, hey, I want to sell this store, it was only operating, it's 2020s when it was started. It was only operating for about a year and a half. I don't know what the seller feedbacks are on it. Probably maybe a couple hundred or something. There's no inventory left in it. Everything's been deleted out. What would something like, how would you do your due diligence on that? Diligence on that to see what that might be worth for you guys? Would it be, I give you the login, you log in, or I make you an admin or something, you log in, you check it out, or what's the process there?
Sure. Yeah, I'll dive in. So basically, we have a procurement team. They would set up an appointment with you. There's a few questions first, just to get an idea around the store. Then they'd set up a call with our account check-in specialist. Be like a 15-minute call. It'll be on Zoom, and it just go through the store. We can click and go through it ourselves if you share the permissions, remote access on the store. So on Zoom, sorry, or you can just guide and we can go through the store, and that's typically how it works. Then our team will swing back around with, after they've analyzed that, they've looked into that, all the metrics, they'll swing back around with an offer, and then usually they say yes, I want to do it, or no, or there's a little bit of a negotiation at that point. But that's the process, Kevin.
How do you figure out if there's any like black hat that happened on this account? Like if maybe this account, has, as Amazon knows everything that happens, maybe in 3 years prior, they were doing all kinds of crazy ranking stuff, and it's kind of sitting there in the account history. And if something ever happened in the future, Amazon could refer back to that if they want to. How do you check against anything that, or is it even possible to?
Part of the call checking process is we go through all of the performance notifications and go through all the cases, make sure that the accounts is clean. That goes into the whole process of testing, checking the account, before we make an offer, and then going through, asking the questions on the call as well. That plays a part in that too, and really just we acquire most of our stores from private label sellers, and there's throughout the process of us hop on these calls and asking the questions. That's where a lot of our due diligence is done, looking in the account, and we have some other checks as well, just to make sure as close as we can. We don't buy stores that have been suspended a bunch of times and all that stuff. So we're really looking for the stores that are super clean and have the least chance of any risk for any potential buyer in the future.
Do you go in and, like, if they got some random inventory still sitting in there that they just never took out, do you have them withdraw that or dispose of it, and also if they have, like, say they have their 10 ASINs, they're just sitting there, just waiting for some hacker to come and make them into something. Do you have them delete all that stuff out, or so it's totally clean, or how do you do that? What do you do there?
Usually we do. Right now, we make them dispose all the inventory, or just send it to a charity or whatever they want, or just move the inventory out. But basically, we are considering acquiring some stores right now that have some active sales. So it's another product that we're trying. We're helping more the sellers that actually quit and they don't want to do that. And the part of due diligence is just talking to these people, making sure they are real people. That's really important. Making sure they are the owners of the store. Making sure that we're asking what they were doing, what kind of business they were doing. We're asking for supplier information as well. So just to have the clear picture around everything, what was in that store. So that's the most we can do, we're doing. And another important thing that one of the purposes of us going to the conference was just to partner with Amazon, as I mentioned, and we want to just get closer to them so we can have some Amazon dedicated team to our business that can help us with acquiring, with transferring, with then with the seller, with people who actually acquire the stores, and then maybe they may have some dedicated managers over there that will talk about the services that you can use on Amazon, anything that can help people grow their businesses long term on that side. So right now, the most we can do, we're doing in terms of due diligence. But we know we can do more with Amazon's help and alongside just Amazon.
Do you take take possession of the store, or do you just act as a go-between between the seller and the buyer?
So we act, it's kind of a bit of both. So as Jay-Z said, let's say we buy a store, we acquire it with an asset purchase agreement. So that store the chain of title is owned by our company. Then what we do is we find somebody that wants to acquire the store, and then we don't change any of the details, obviously, to us. We sell the store and then have the new owner. We transfer the store to the new owner. In the way Jay-Z.
So you basically you buy the rights to it, basically. And then so it's not like Amazon's changing it to you and then having to change it to the next guy. It's a clean, simple from one guy to the next. And I'm sure you have an SOP since you're a master at all that. This is exactly what you need to do. And what's that process take? So once a buyer and a seller are matched, does it take like 48 hours to get an account transferred? Is this like weeks, or what does it typically take?
Right. I'll jump in. So essentially, we acquire the store. We acquire the store from, let's say, Mary. That might take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to go through that process, look at the store, making our offer, begin the transfer process. Once we've done that, then as soon as a buyer wants to acquire the store, we go through our process. Typically, it takes anywhere from 10 to 14 days. Sometimes takes a little bit longer, depending on if Amazon re-verify, then we have to push that through and get that done. But anywhere between 2 and 3 weeks, really, Kevin, to transfer. We've tested this every way you can imagine, and from our experience, we just rather go slow and diligent in making the changes at the store because we've just seen what happens when things get rushed, and that's not how we approach our business. So it's a very methodical, streamlined process that we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So it takes about 2 and 3 weeks. And at that point, we deliver the store, show the new owner how to access it safely and all that good stuff. So that happens in that way. So yeah, about 2-3 weeks.
And that process was developed by our trial and error plus consulting with lawyers that help with FBA business exits. And we invested a lot of time in just developing that process, and we may call it our secret sauce as well, because that's what we do every day with this store.
So does a new buyer have to go through that whole verification now that Amazon's with all the new laws where you got to show your ID and show your bank account and show all that? Does the new buyer have to go through all that, or is it just transfer over that verification process from the original?
So when you change anything these days on Amazon, since the Inform Act, that oftentimes comes up, and for sure we go through and do that for the new owner. So that's done. We just need the information, and we that's part of the transfer process. So they get the store and they're ready to rock and roll, and then the Inform Act says that it's going to happen every year. So from that point on, they'll have to just do that re-verification process, the following year. So that's what happens.
So are you specializing in just one Amazon marketplace, or you do this for all marketplaces, like Europe and Japan, Australia, everywhere, or are you only specializing in a few marketplaces?
Just one for now. We're just doing US, so we're just trying to focus. And this is part of the reason. Great question, Kevin. It's part of the reason we flew to Seattle. So it's part of the reason. Jay-Z, Yaroslav's obviously Ukrainian, but it was the reason he drove 1,000 miles out of Ukraine to get across the border to fly to Seattle so we could go and speak to Amazon and really talk to them. Because in Europe, there's a button you can press. In Europe, there's a button called Transfer Account. And it's very straightforward, seamless process. It takes a bit of time, but it works. In the USA, they don't have that yet. And my theory is that it's kind of a legacy platform. It's a lot more complicated to have that button installed probably on the US. And it's probably not top of their priority list right now with everything else they're probably doing. So we flew, Jay-Z made the crazy journey out of Ukraine to go and sit in front of Amazon staff, execs, shake their hands and talk to them about what we're up to in how we're taking these dormant stores and selling them to sellers so they can breathe life into the platform. And they absolutely loved what we was up to, the execs that we spoke to. And our goal is to, work closely with them. And, that's, very early stages of that. But we're just looking to work with them. We do great business with buying these stores from people and then providing them to other folks that want to grow on the Amazon platform and, provide value to Amazon's customers. So that's, that was the whole reason, a big part of the reason we went there, and obviously to meet loads of other Amazon sellers like yourself too.
So one of the things that you said, Yaroslav, is that you actually have a second model you're working on right now, where if I started up and I bought 1,000 units or something, and I realize I'm in over my head, or I don't have the money to finance this growth, and maybe I'm onto something, but I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. That you're going in and that's a new model. It's like, okay, you'll take over that account. You buy that account with the inventory, and then you flip that to somebody else that actually has a clue, right? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, we're discovering that. So we're not doing that yet, but we're discovering, because we see there is a demand for that, and we're trying to respond to the demand, because we got our processes and our systems for acquiring almost anything we want. Basically, we can go and acquire. We can do targeted ads. We can use our partners. We can basically we have everything set up. We're just trying to respond to the demand from the sales side.
Yeah, I would think that there could be a decent market there, depending on what, some of those are bad product choices. You don't want to buy the 30th weighted blanket account or something like that. But there's some probably some decent opportunities there where someone they have a good idea, they just can't execute, or they don't, for a number of reasons, time, money, knowledge, whatever it may be. And there may be people that want to take that over and run with that.
Exactly. That's what we're finding, Kevin, is it's like an aggregator, but on a very small scale. Might be doing $5,000 a month profit, a few grand. They've got a great idea, opportunities there. So that's going to be something we're exploring in the next few months, for sure. So yeah, we're looking forward to giving that a shot.
So how big is this market? Is this like a very, very niche, and there's like a couple transactions a week, or is this? I mean, it sounds like you guys are pretty much all in on this, so it must be quite a bit of demand out there for this. I know there's a few other people doing it, not the way you are. It seems like you're doing it a little bit more sophisticated. But what is are there that many people that are? And like I said, like you said earlier, and we both said that a lot of people don't even know you can do this.
Right. Yeah. It's a great question. So there's private label sellers who acquire these. We work with aggregators. There's wholesale sellers. The dropshipping thing is not much of a thing anymore. We have some folks that are doing it properly with two-step dropshipping that reach out to us. But there is definitely demand for these stores, because ultimately, when you create a new store, obviously there can be some challenges with that. And with some of these older stores, as we've talked about, you've got much more favorable payment terms. Oftentimes, a payment in full every 2 weeks instead of having a reserve. A lot of seller feedback, a lot of sales history, and all the reasons aggregators look to acquire running businesses applies to this model as well. So yeah, there's definitely demand there. We're just kind of scratching the surface, to be honest, Kevin. And we know we can help a lot more people that are doing great things on Amazon's platform, launching great brands, doing good business. And that's who we really want to continue to support.
Aaron, you might remember this around 2016 or maybe it's 17. Amazon made, you kind of referenced it earlier. They had a legacy system, and there was like two different, I don't know what the numbers were, but I'll just call it version 1 and version 2 of Seller Central. And they're trying to get everybody to migrate to version 2. And when they first did it, they automatically migrated some people, and it pissed off a bunch of people. And because they lost their daily payments, they started having to pay a restocking fee for returns. And there are some other things that happened along those lines. And I remember I was one of the last holdouts because they kept saying they took away the automatic and let you do it on your own. And then they put a deadline on it. You got to do it by X date. And I waited till that day or like a day before I did it, because I had daily payouts. I had no fee for returns. Most of that stuff has gone away, but some of those legacy things are still in those accounts, right? There's still some advantages in some of those older legacy accounts that could be worth something. And I know now, a lot of people say when they sign up, they have a 2 week, you have the rolling reserve, so you can take daily payments, but you don't get paid for, was it 3 weeks from delivery or basically something along those lines? But there's some of those older accounts that doesn't apply, right? And you can get the full funds. Do those still exist, or do they correct that on the older accounts?
It still exists, yeah. But and that's one of the reasons why people acquire older accounts, and it's quite hard to find these accounts. I mean, like daily pay, it's quite rare. Just standard.
This is daily pay. I just want to be clear for those listening. Every new account I sign up for has daily pay. I can go and hit a button every 24 hours and take a payment, but the payment amount is like there's some in reserve, and basically it's 2 weeks from delivery or something like that before that reserve. Basically, it's a 3 week waiting period from the time the order happens until that reserve gets released. But some of these older accounts, that doesn't exist. You sell $20 today, you can take out the $20 tomorrow. So I just want to be clear for people listening of the difference between the two.
That's right. And what we've seen, Kevin, usually these legacy accounts that we actually call these accounts legacy accounts too. But we've seen a lot of daily pay accounts that pay out in full from before 2006, 2007. But weirdly, we've also found, we've actually come across more than one store that was from 2014 that had these daily pay in fulls. So it might have been in that glitch when Amazon transitioned everyone out, but there's definitely stores out there that still pay in full every day. As you can imagine, the game of business obviously is, the faster you can reduce your cash flow cycle, the faster the company can grow, essentially, because you can reinvest inventory into marketing and so forth. So that's why essentially people acquire these accounts, is because oftentimes they have a 2 week payment cycle instead of having a reserve where it's spread out. Let's say Amazon owed you $100,000, you get that full $100,000 after 2 weeks. if it has a reserve, then it could take, 3.5 weeks to get that full 100 grand, right? And that really can slow a business down in terms of the growth.
It's massive. I mean, to pay 5, 10, you said that someone paid 14 grand for an account, you'd pay more than that in interest if you're a big company, just in that cash flow of 3 weeks of cash flow. It's worth every freaking penny right there. I mean, to do that. What, do you help the new buyers? Do you help them migrate do you have an SOP and like, here's how you migrate your products over? Or they just, once they buy the account, they're on their own?
In terms of when they...
So I buy accounts and I want to like, maybe, I got a hot selling product on my account that has one of these big reserves on it. I want to move that product to this new account that I just bought from you. That's a legacy account from 2007 or something that has daily payouts so I can cash flow better. Do you have SOPs where you help them on that? Or is that just that they're on their own to move that product, that ASIN over to the new account?
Yeah, some of that we work with them through to get that rock and roll. And our goal is really, there's a line of what we can and can't do, of course, but we will, be there to guide and to make sure that they've got the store ready to do what they intended it for, Is there a public facing website where people can go to, or you got to be like you said, Yaroslav, there's like a Telegram group or something, or how do you if I want to buy something, or if I've got something to sell, how do I go about getting a hold of you guys? If somebody's looking to sell one of their old Amazon stores or an old vendor account that they don't want, then all you need to do is reach out to Aaron at growthaccounts.com. So it's AARON at GROWTH accounts with an S.com. And then, we can set up a time to check out your account and see if it's something that we can make you an offer for. If somebody's looking to acquire an Amazon store, then they could just go to ecomstores.com and schedule a call there. So, I hope that makes sense. So that's Aaron at growthaccounts.com if you got one to sell. And if you have, if you're looking to buy, it's ecomstores.com. That's correct. Yeah. And if anyone needs any help with transferring, if they're going through an acquisition and they want some help with transferring an Amazon store, then we can also help with that stuff as well. But just reach out to the email address, and that's the best way. Are there any hiccups when in a transfer process, or is it usually just as long as you got all the documentation, it's pretty smooth, or do they ever fail for some reason? With Amazon, there can be hiccups, as we all know, right? So it's rare that there's something bad goes, any red flags that go off during the transfer. What can happen is Amazon's more sensitive these days with the Inform Act. They can kick out an address verification postcard. That can set back because we've got to wait obviously for that to arrive and then then do it. But it's extremely, extremely rare that there's any issues during the transfer process, just because the amount of times we've done this now. We'd have to be idiots at this point not to notice the patterns of what to do, what not to do. Not saying that won't ever happen, but from our experience, that is very, very rare.
Sometimes Amazon they have some glitches and you cannot update for the legal entity and you cannot choose the right country over there, which is weird. But we raise a lot of cases, we follow up, we got our team calling. If something weird happens, we're able to handle everything.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate you taking the time today and sharing that this is something that a lot of people don't even know really exists or what the opportunities are there from both sides. So this has been great. I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing today.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
I bet a lot of you just learned something, didn't even know there's an entire business out there of just buying and selling Amazon accounts. It's big business. There's a lot of Amazon accounts. Some 2 million accounts or something that are active on Amazon right now, plus another, I'm sure, millions that have been set up and either never really got going or were abandoned. So it's a big business, and there's lots of opportunities around that, whether you're looking to recoup a little bit of your initial investment, get a little extra cash for some old accounts sitting around, or maybe you need to better your cash flow and are looking for an account that has some of these legacy things. Great stuff. Go to ecomstore.com if you're looking to buy, or message Aaron at the email address he gave if you're looking to sell your account. We'll be back again next week with another great episode. In the meantime, I've got some words of wisdom for you before we head out. Remember, your reputation is your most important asset. It precedes you before you walk into the room, and it lingers long after the work is done. Your reputation is your most important asset. It precedes you before you walk into the room, and it lingers long after the work is done. See you again next week.